25 to 30% the stresses at which those bones will break. And this applies across the board, mammals as small as chipmunks to as large as elephants. This speaks to me of a real elegance of design. The tightness of the design is much tighter than an engineer would typically design a building or a structure, with very few exceptions. Engineering structures are never built to exert stresses so close to the failure stresses as we see used routinely in mammals.
To keep stress from breaking our bones, all creatures do something incredibly simple. We shift our posture and change the way we move.
What you see in a horse, for example, the horse would start out at low speeds using a walk, and as it moves faster, the stresses do indeed increase, but they increase up to this 25 to 30% of braking strength, and then the horse changes the way it moves. It moves from a walk to a trot. And when it moves from the walk to the trot, changing the way it puts its legs down and picks them up, the stresses drop. As it moves faster in a trot, the stresses increase yet again till we hit this magic 25 to 30%. And again, it changes its gait. It moves into a canter. Stresses drop again. As it moves faster in the canter, the stresses build up again until we have another gait change into a gallop.
Mathematics reveals that as we move, stress increases on our bones. And to relieve the stress, we change our posture, the way we hold our body.
Down, turn. That's it. Good.
This simple idea about motion and posture is also helping LaBarbera understand how dinosaurs must have moved.
One of the more interesting uses of this is to look at an animal the size of a tyrannosaur. Rather than being bird-like in the way they move, they were much more like mammals, with the legs held under the body and straight during locomotion. Mathematics is changing the way we understand these animals as having held their bodies, and thus changing the way we think about how they hunted, how they lived. The more you know, the deeper you'll see, the more you will be able to extract this underlying structure and beauty.
Living things come in all sizes and shapes. They also display a variety of colorful and beautiful patterns. Mathematician James Murray is fascinated by patterns. His interests begin with a bedtime story, a fable he read to his daughter more than 30 years ago.
"I'll take spots then," said the leopard. "But don't make them ever too vulgar big. I wouldn't look like Giraffe, not forever so." "I'll make them with the tips of my fingers," said the Ethiopian. "There's plenty of black left in my skin still. Stand over." Then the Ethiopian put his 5 fingers close together and pressed them all over the leopard. And wherever the 5 fingers touched, they left 5 little black marks, all close together. You can see them on any leopard's skin you like, best beloved. Sometimes the fingers slipped and the marks got a little blurred. But if you look closely at any leopard now, you will see that there are always 5 spots, or 5 fat black little fingertips. Now you are a beauty, said the Ethiopian. Think of that and purr.
Murray's daughter loved the fable about the leopard, but as she grew older, she wanted to know the real reason behind the leopard's spots.
She said, but how do they really get their spots? And so I thought, well, I had no idea, really. I mean, I quite liked Kipling's idea, but of course it's fairly unscientific. And so I said that I would ask some of my colleagues in the university. I was in Oxford at the time, and it became very clear that no one knew how coat patterns were formed. So it was with that in mind that I started to try and come up with ideas of how they might happen.
Animals have beautiful patterns. Detail, exquisite. But nobody knows how they're formed.
When one looks at the coat patterns on a leopard, I think of how they were formed. And it's certainly not like painting by numbers. There must be some process which creates the coat pattern.
Murray found his first clue to the leopard spots in some very tiny patterns. This moving pattern is about the size of a nickel. It's created by combining chemicals. As the chemicals react, they spread out and form a design. As you change the amount of chemicals, the pattern changes. Change another variable, and you get another pattern. Patterns like this gave Murray an idea about how the leopard got its spots.
The idea is a very simple one. At some stage during the development of the leopard, the embryo, there will be a genetically controlled switch which produces this chemical pattern, which are like the spots on a leopard. And this chemical pattern really consists of regions of high concentration of a chemical and low concentrations of a chemical. And cells underneath the skin, which find themselves in regions of high concentration of the chemical, will produce the color, and the cells that find themselves in the regions of low concentration of this chemical don't produce it. So the question that one asks about coat patterns is,